Right, guys, my name is Kevin Gillespie. I'm the host of the UK's exclusive launch of the Parrot Anafi USA. Welcome, guys. If you've been following the news and watching what Parrot's been posting ourselves over the past 24 hours, you know that Parrot have gone bold with this launch campaign. They're talking, this is truly a disruptive drone that is about to turn the volume up to 11. A real game changer for first responders, public safety, energy and utilities, defence, government and the inspection sector. And what we're going to do, we're going to take you through everything, not just the drone and the specs, because you can read that. We're going to get some real insight. We've got some great guests that'll take us through all the key features, the applications, industry specific, as well as go through the various packages that are available and a lot of other key things as well that you might have just missed. So before we do, general housekeeping. The way this webinar works is we're going to make this interactive as possible for all you guys here. So I see that there's a lot of people writing in the chat, but if you've seen the slide here, what we want you to do is put the questions into the actual question sections, which is in the bottom left if you have a look at the diagram there. And what we'll do is, well, as we go through, I'm going to be the compere. I'm going to ask the guys these questions and we'll get through as many as possible. Now, if we don't manage to get through them all, don't worry. What we do is we package all these out and we put them into an FAQ, and then we also send out a pre-recording of this webinar to you afterwards as well. Right then, so let's crack on. If we move on to the next slide, we have your host. There's me on the right, Marketing Director of Coptrz, and then we have Asif, Regional Director of Parrot, and we have Sam, who is our UAV strategist for Coptrz. So we really have the creme de la creme of the UK drone industry here to take us through this new Parrot drone. So, like I said, we're going to what we'll cover, we'll go through, you can see it there. We'll go through the drone, the key features, the applications, what's included, the packages, and the Q&A will go all the way through. And we'll start quickly with who Coptrz are in case we're new to you guys. In a nutshell, we're a full 360 drone solution provider. And what that means is we equip, train, maintain, and help organizations evolve their drone solutions across many industries and verticals. And we work with a number of different partners within the drone industry to make sure that if you are thinking about adopting drones into your organization, you get a solution that is right for your needs and requirements. And that's us in a nutshell. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Sam, our UAV strategist for public safety at Coptrz. Over to you, Sam.
Yep. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Kev, and thanks for having me on. Excited to be on this webinar. So just a brief introduction about me. So I worked for Coptrz now for just over 4 years in total. In that time, we've worked with over 50 UK emergency service organisations, search and rescue teams, branches of the Ministry of Defence. Initially, a massive focus on supporting police and fire, and we've seen that diversify now to support for those other organisations as well. And that ranges from supplying the correct equipment, consulting on what to do with that equipment and what will be right for what situations, and also advising in terms of training, supplying the training, software support, servicing, everything needed to set up and maintain the drone team within the world of public safety. That's pretty much it for me in terms of what I do for Coptrz. I'll just hand over to Asif, and you can introduce yourself and Parrot as well.
Perfect. Hi. So my name is Asif. I've been at Parrot since 2007. And Parrot itself has been around since 1994. We're a French company. We're listed on the French Stock Exchange. And we actually launched our first drone in 2010. So way back 10 years ago. And some of you may remember the AR drone. Parrot is now a group of companies. So the Parrot Group owns other brands as well that some of you may not realize. So for example, Pix4D, who's the largest mapping company for drones, they're a fully owned subsidiary of Parrot. as are SenseFly, the largest fixed-wing drone company in the world. So are Microsense, who make the Sequoia sensor, a multispectral sensor used in agriculture. And we then have other investments in other drone companies. So people like Sky Hero, who make the Loki drone, we have an investment in them, as we do with Planck, who's an American drone company and supplier to the American government. So that's a quick overview of me and Parrot. As I said, I've been in the drone industry from the very early days. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Right then, let's get to the star of the show. As much as Sam would probably like to think it's him and Asif, it's actually the Parrot Anafi USA. And what we're going to do is, if we just go to the next slide, here is the top line specs. And we're not going to dwell too much on this because we're going to delve into these as we go through the webinar. And the key thing is we see specs all the time, but what does it actually mean, and what does it actually mean for you and your operations? And that's what this webinar is about, and that's what we're going to talk about and ask. And what I'm hoping is, guys, you've got some great questions while we've got Asif and Sam on here, and I'm looking forward to asking them on your behalf. So let's crack on. Let's talk about the first feature, which is basically what I was talking about when we were saying it is a big and bold launch campaign that Parrot have gone with. And I think it's only right that we go to Asif for this one. And let's talk about this key feature and the key message, which is all about trust. This is the drone that you can trust. And the key feature is trusted and secure.
Absolutely. So it's users say the Anafi USA uses the high-end security and durability that we have on the drone that we are making for the American government, the SRR project. And around that, what we had to do was ensure that 100% of all critical components in the drone have been cleared by the American government. So it's a very secure drone. In terms of data security, firstly, no data at all is shared with our servers unless the customer authorizes it in the first place. Once they do authorize it, that data is shared on European servers, which are governed under European law, under GDPR, which is the strictest regulations in the world. So we're very, very focused on how this is a trusted and secure drone. It's made in Boston in America, and it's got some high encryption in there as well. So for example, with the SD card, so the SD card is very secure, it's encrypted. So should the drone get lost or stolen, or the SD card, people cannot access the data that's on there.
If that it all sounds really impressive, and you know what, I'm going to jump straight to a question because there is an Adrian Charters has asked this question, and it fits perfectly here. We do a lot of work for the MOD, and they're reluctant to allow DJI systems on secure sites and manufacturers that have cloud-based data storage. What is the situation with Parrot regarding this?
Well, hopefully I've already answered that. The data does not go to our servers unless the customer authorizes it. And in fact, we do work with the MOD already. We supply many divisions of the Army, the Navy, with our products as well as various police forces. So as a brand, they are aware of us and they've cleared us for use on their property.
Great. I hope that answers your question, Adrian. Do you have anything to add on this in terms, Sam, in terms of what you're seeing as you work with the key verticals like public safety and emergency services?
Yeah, I think the benefits there that Asif's outlined to sort of military and police especially are fairly obvious in terms of the security. What I would say as well is if you're, and we did touch on it, if you're operating in terms of inspection in areas of critical infrastructure.
Sam, you're across echoing. Sorry, Sam.
Can you hear me okay?
It's echoing.
So what we'll do is we've lost Sam, but that should hopefully improve the audio quality. But I'm hoping myself and Asif are still coming through loud and clear. Great. Right, let's crack on. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the next slide. So Sam talked through that, and this is just some examples of it. And let's try go back. Well, let's go to Asif on this one, and while Sam sorts his technical issues out. But Asif, just talk us through this. What's because this looks really impressive to me.
Yeah, so as Sam was saying at the start, and you may have got cut off on that bit, the Anafi USA has a FLIR boson sensor, which is twice as powerful as the sensor we have on the Anafi thermal, which is already being used by various customers. And as Sam said, that means that you can be that much further away and do an inspection of a fire, for example, or solar panels at height, or in fact, in here we've got an example of nighttime human detection. And what we've done there, we've blended the thermal imagery with the visible imagery there as well. So we've got some examples there at 20 meters away and at 30 meters away, but how clear it still is to be able to find someone, or like I said, a heat signature from a burning building, for example. So the advantage of having this more advanced boson lens together with the 32 times zoom is that, you know, if it's public safety, for example, or you want to inspect a cell tower, you can be much further away and use that zoom capability or the advanced boson sensor. And obviously that means that it's a little bit easier for you to fly and safer potentially as well. So we're just waiting for Sam to come to the next slide, I think. There seems to be some IT issues, I think, unfortunately, today with so many people using internet nowadays. I think it's caused some bandwidth issues.
It has, but do you know what, Asif? We'll just, the show must go on. So what I'm going to do is, while we wait for Sam to get reconnected, let's go to some questions. And
Sure.
You're in the hot seat because Sam isn't here, so I'm going to go straight to you. So we've got a question from Richard Wallace, and he's got a question about FLIRs. So he says he knows FLIR are approved by the US government, but they're expensive. We use other makes with just same quality. And what in terms of that question, it's like, obviously we've spoke about FLIR, and the quality is absolutely immense, and it's approved by the US government. Now, what's key is this: am I right in thinking that this camera comes with the drone itself? So for these guys, they won't need to go anywhere else. And
absolutely, yeah. So what basically we've chosen best in class. So, you know, for the visible camera, we work with Sony, who arguably make the best visible cameras. FLIR make the best thermal cameras, so we partner with FLIR on that side as well. So joining two things together, we believe we have a drone that's unique, especially for its size and weight. Yes, we know how some people might have some concerns about the price, but you'll be quite surprised, hopefully, or pleasantly surprised with the price we show it at the end.
Exactly. Thanks, Asif. And we've got a question from Andrew Jenkins saying, what is the actual resolution of the thermal sensor?
So it's 320 by 256.
Right off the bat. So what we're doing is Sam should hopefully be reconnecting very shortly. But as we wait for him, we'll just go through a few more questions that we've already got here to see what we can do.
Hi guys, can you hear me okay now? How's the audio there?
That's fine now, Sam.
So much better.
Brilliant.
Right,
good
we're
stuff.
back.
Sorry about that, everybody, but yeah, we're usual service resumed, and we'll jump straight back in. Do you want to carry on with the questions, and I'll just interject as and when, or should we carry on?
No. Let's crack on, because what we've done is we covered them all. Asif was awesome in the hot seat, and let's keep on going. So if we go to the next slide, if we can, because it's just another example. And I asked Asif to talk through the first examples of human night detection at 20 meters and 30 meters. But what we're actually seeing here, and what benefit is this of the 45 meters and the 100 meters, this kind of imagery and dual thermal imagery at that for the various verticals like public safety and first response? That's to you, Sam.
Yeah, so it has a massive impact. Obviously, the difference in if you're just talking resolution, as you can see there, the difference in distance from say 100 meters with a camera that's 160 by 120 resolution, so what you get in the Mavic Dual, for example, from 100 meters you're not going to get any recognizable or usable data, whether that's public safety or whether that's inspection. Dropping down to sort of 30 to 45 meters, yes, you might be able to get something, but at the distance shown on the right hand side there, you're not going to get any data. And traditionally what you'd have to do to get that data is jump up to a much larger drone system with a much more expensive payload to get high resolution imagery. So having this sort of intermediary middle of the road option, where you've got a thermal camera that is good enough quality to get data from greater distances, yeah, it's definitely going to change the way drone teams in the public safety sector work, the whole way they operate.
And I think what's key in that, Sam, is the size of the Anafi USA as well. You know, it's 500 grams. So some of the other drones you've just mentioned are quite sizable drones, and they take quite a long time to put together. This is deployable within 55 seconds. That's
really impressive. It's really impressive.
Yeah. And just to pick up on that, the 55 seconds, the deploy time. In the inspection world, obviously that's not critical. It's beneficial. It's certainly not a downside. In public safety, 55 seconds compared to 5 minutes. If you're looking at 4 minutes extra to search for someone that's lost, that's developed hypothermia, or if you're looking to catch someone who's stolen something or is running away from a crime scene, that's completely invaluable. It can't be stressed how important a quick launch time is.
That is definitely a game change. That's game changing, right?
Yes.
That's disruptive. That is, yeah, that's immense. I mean, let's move on to the next key feature, because what we'll do is if people have got more questions on the imagery, we'll come back to that. But there is so much cool stuff that we got to get through, and I'm dying to get through it all. And if we go to the next key feature, and the headline here is "Fly During Challenging Operations." So I'm going to put this to you, Sam. What does this actually mean in terms of why would it be a game changer, and why would this be useful for these kind of specifications and these kind of features and functionality? Why is it so important and critical for these key verticals?
Yeah, so just quickly to run through the points there. So the IP53, the reason that's critical, it's fairly clear. Again, up till this point, any of the smaller, rapid deploy, easy to carry systems would be very expensive and would take a lot longer to get up in the air. And that's what you need to use to get any sort of IP rating. So now that you've got a smaller rapid deployment system that's got IP53, so the 5 means it's effectively dust proof, can fly in sand and not have any issues sucking stuff up into the motors. And then the 3 is a spray of water from a 60-degree angle, so you can fly in sort of light, moderate rain and not worry about sort of moisture. And I think, Asif, there's some videos of the sort of demo units being effectively sprayed by a hose while in flight for about half an hour.
Yes, that's right. And we also have another one of the Anafi in a sandbox, and that was in there for 13 hours, on, off, sand being thrown at it in an enclosed environment, and it was still flying afterwards.
Yeah, and then again on the onto the next one, with the wind resistance, smaller drones tend to be in the sort of 12 meters per second range, which is about 26, 27 miles an hour. So again, a big jump up there. It might not seem like a lot, but breaching that 30 mile per hour barrier in terms of wind resistance is going to have a huge impact in how often teams can deploy. And then the other features just mean that you can launch the drone no matter where you are and not worry about your conditions locally. And obviously that transmission range is more than enough for anything you'd really use in the UK market at this point. You know, gives you plenty of range to work with. So you combine them all together, and there's very few conditions, as a smaller drone, very few conditions you won't be able to fly in, compared to anything, you know, right up to very, very expensive, effectively military grade systems.
I'll tell you what, they're not, Parrot aren't messing around when they go with the lead message that this drone is rugged. I mean, just tell me, what kind of conditions would you be flying with sand, just smacking off it for, what did you say, Asif, 30 minutes?
So that was 13 hours in a enclosed perspex box. That's our testing environment in Paris. Again, you know, this drone was developed originally for the US military. So you can understand why it needs to be sand resistant and waterproof as well. Another key thing as well, is about how quiet this drone is as well. Obviously, it's larger than the current Anafi thermal, but it's one of the quietest drones in its class. So at 50 centimeters off the ground, it's only 79 decibels. to extremely quiet.
That is, yeah, absolutely. And what does that mean? What's the advantages of having an extremely quiet drone for operations, Sam?
Yeah, on the commercial side, the main benefit would just be it's less intrusive. You're less likely to have people interfering with your drone operations while you're carrying out something like an inspection. On the public safety side, there's the obvious kind of covert benefits of having a drone, which is a lot quieter. So people don't know, that they're under observation or being followed by the police, for example, if they're of interest. And I think just the less impact in terms of noise, the better. It's an obvious no-brainer that the quieter the drone is, it means efficiency. It just means you're going to have less issues when you're operating.
Yeah, great. And there's a question from a Mark Ryan, Asif, and I'm going to direct this to you. And I think it's about the test conditions. He's asking, how about 13 hours in a soft play centre? Can it handle that?
30 minutes, I think.
I mean, I think you've got a question mark. Why would you be flying a drone in a soft play centre? But anyway, I thought that tickled me. Just very quickly, David, I can't pronounce your surname. You're saying no sign from Sam. If you just try the connection troubles reconnect link at the bottom, and that's same for anybody who's missing any slides, and hopefully that will solve the problem. So what we'll do is we will move on. So here's another key feature that is talked about, and it's stabilized zoom. Talk to us about this, Sam.
Yeah, so the zoom is 32 times in total. You've got sort of statistics there in terms of the quality of the imagery, the size of the sensor, etc. I think it's important to link that back to the real world and what it actually means, what you can do with it. It's all well and good knowing you've got a zoom to a certain amount, but it's seeing what that can do and why it would be effective. To give you an idea on some of the testing we've done, we've been reading registration plates at up to 250 meters in distance, clearly enough, and identifying people from 400 plus meters, where you can clearly say, yes, that is someone else for a lineup of people effectively. So the longer distance zoom, it's ultra effective in that side, but also there's the fact that you can be 50, 60 meters from a target and still get really high resolution images. So you can keep a distance from something where there might be interference, or if it's critical and you don't want to get too close, then you can use the zoom in that fashion as well. And the zoom also translates over to the thermal camera as well, which I don't think is mentioned there, which is really important because, again, it's the first smaller drone with a good zoom on a high resolution thermal image.
Could you just, as you were going through there, could you just go through to the next slide, Sam? Because what you'll see is you'll get some great examples of this. Just ignore the shirt. Am I right in thinking, as if this was shot in Miami?
It was indeed, yeah. With that was shot last month, so it's nice weather out there, as opposed to us over here.
So it looks like everybody's having a good time, especially the guy in the Hawaiian shirt. And then here we go as well. And this just gives you an example of what Sam was talking about. And for me, it's just so impressive when you actually see these real life images. And like Sam said, we were actually testing this out last week at Coptrz in not real life scenarios, but actually out in the field with one of our partners. And yeah, I mean, you were there, Sam. What was their top line thoughts on the drone and the capabilities?
I think, to be honest, I think shock was the emotion that I saw. What we did is we took it away to sort of varying distances. So we started at sort of 100 meters and moved back in 50 meters in range each time. And it was just the fact that you could make out clear detail and how stable the image was. I mean, bear in mind, this is a 500-gram drone. It's not some 9-kilo lump of metal in the air that's designed to be ultra stable. It's a small sort of quick deploy unit, and yet the stability on the camera, it looked like a still. There was barely any movement, even at the full 30 times zoom. So I think there was some imagery, Asif, of the drone in your office in Paris, where was it 17 miles or 17 kilometers from the Eiffel Tower?
Yeah. So it's taken just outside our office at an airfield, but it zoomed into the Eiffel Tower. It's one of the demo videos I have, and yeah, it was 17 miles away, and nobody has managed to guess anywhere near that when I've been asking them how far away they think it is.
At a guess from a still, I think I'd say it was sort of 4 or 5 miles. It would be an educated guess, sort of 7 or 8 kilometers, and it's just people are very surprised when they see how good quality and how stable the image is, even at the full zoom length.
One thing, Sam, that we didn't touch upon there as well was about the gimbal as well. It was one of the bullet points, and it's about the fact that it's a 250-degree gimbal now as well. So it can look down minus 140 degrees, so look back on itself in effect, and then it looks up and then beyond as well. So it's 100 degrees, 110 degrees up as well. So perfect for inspections.
Yeah, amazing. I think, you know what, Lawrence Dupavi, hopefully I got your name right, just sums it right up there, doesn't he? Wow. When you ever look at that, yeah, absolutely. When you think of it, like Sam hit the nail on the head there, didn't he? This drone is small, but look at it. Look what it can do. I guess good things do come in small packages. That's what they say. That's great. Now, another key feature, and this is what's got me really excited. And before we came on the webinar, Asif was talking us through some of the cool stuff that we can do and succeed in one mission. I'm going to go to you first, Asif. Just talk through this, because I think this is for me what is truly game changing as well. When you take the sum of all parts and then it turns into how it's applied. That's what really excites me.
Yeah, so, as I said, we own Pix4D as well, and I noticed there's a question earlier on, can you use Pix4D capture with it? Absolutely. Secondly, you can use it with Pix4D React. So that's perfect in a public safety environment if there's a fire or police want to observe something. And what you can do with Pix4D React is that you can create a 2D map within 15 minutes, and it's downloaded straight onto your laptop. So the advantage for that is you get the drone to fly out there using Pix4D React, get full situational awareness within 15 minutes. You still have another 2 spare batteries. Each can fly for 32 minutes. And then you can find out exactly what is going on out there. So added to the fact that if you're following somebody that's moving and you're moving also, what you can actually do is edit the return to home. So rather than the drone landing back to where it took off from, it can land to where you are now as well. So these are all things we've changed there to make it that much easier, and then make it a much more complete package as well.
That edible return to home, man, that is just so important for public safety. I mean, just elaborate on that, Sam. I mean, that, for me, game changing. Yeah,
massively. It's something that can be really easily overlooked because it's quite a simple, when you think about it, it's a very simple bit of software to do something like that. But how often, as someone who's a first responder, would you be landing in the same position you took off? The mission's constantly evolving, constantly moving. The team on the ground's constantly moving. You can't really expect your drone to be static and limited in terms of where it lands. Also, in those situations, linking in with the automatic return to home, it can be very hard to keep an eye simply on things like the battery level of the drone. There's always a lot going on in those kind of situations. The last thing you want is it automatically returning to home 3 kilometers away where you took off from. You want it to be able to return where you were flying from. So yeah, these features, they sound simple, but they're critical. They're massive upgrades, very simple but very big upgrades on sort of standard drone features at the moment.
And added to that, there's a couple of other things as well. You spoke about if somebody's moved. Well, in fact, using one of our SDK partners, Planck Aerosystems, as which is partly owned by us, with Anafi USA, you'll be able to land on a moving object as well. So if you're in a vehicle or a speedboat, the drone could land on that.
I tell you what, Asif, that's what I was waiting for you to say, because when you told me about that, I was like, that is the game change. That is so Detroit. It's like that drone, you're in a moving vehicle, and because you have to get up and then you need to move to a different location quickly, and that drone will land in a moving vehicle with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
And one other thing I forgot to say earlier as well is that on the Anafi USA, you get scene location coordinates as well. So what that does is on the screen of your device, you can see the GPS coordinates of either where the drone is or what it is looking at. And that's great for public safety purposes as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Huge benefits to that. I mean, it's all well and good having an eye in the sky that can say there's someone over there, but being able to say there is someone exactly at this location, yeah, huge benefits for that.
What I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to, before we move on to the applications, there's just a few technical questions that have come in from the viewers. So just very quickly, Tom has asked, what is the max forward flight speed? I'll put that to you, Sam.
I think Asif might be better to give you that because we've not. I'm not sure top of my head exactly what the top speed is.
It's the same as the wind resistance, actually. So it's 33 miles an hour.
Brilliant. Thank you, Asif. And that was a question from Chris as well. We've got a question from Ken Farrier, and he's asking, is it a rolling shutter or mechanical shutter? I'm hoping you guys can get the context around that.
It's an electronic rolling shutter.
Fantastic. Another question from Chris. How long did the batteries take to charge?
So it comes with a fast charger, and the fast charger is just under 2 hours for the main battery. Then it's got some additional slots in there as well, which will take slightly longer to charge. However, if you've got the advantage of having a USB-C type charge on us, you can charge it on the go. So you can charge from your laptop, from your car, from a power bank, whatever you like. So you're not restricted by a mains power source.
It's worth pointing out with that as well that you obviously, because it comes with 3 batteries in total, it's on the slide there. You've got 90 minutes of flight time in one, of the small packages. So if you add in a couple more batteries, you can effectively, with the portable charging, have continuous flight.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And there's a couple of people have asked the question, does it have the follow me feature?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So those sort of features are standard across free flight, our claimed app. So you can have follow me, you can have cameraman mode as well, where it focuses on so follow me follows you as the person, as the user. What cameraman mode does is follow an object or a person. So it frames them, and the Anafi will then follow them as well. So absolutely, you're able to do that. And you're able to do flight plan as well. So you can create your own flight plans beforehand.
Great. And there's a question from Claire saying, on full tilt of the camera, does the drone body obscure the image in any way?
No.
Great. And do you know what? There's so many coming through now, guys. If we don't get through them all, just make sure that you put them in the question section. And what we will do after the webinar, what the team will take it away and make sure we answer every single one, and we'll package it up and send it out in a follow-up email. I'm just very conscious that we've got to get cracking on. And Barry Jubb, you've asked a question about your specialization is building inspection. Is this drone overkill for this type of inspection work? Well, we're just about to find out if we move on to the next section, which is all about the applications. If we can, Sam. Great. So just talk us through this. I know we've been quite fluid with the webinar, but just in terms of when you have a look at public safety, it covers the whole spectrum really, in terms of how you can use this drone and adopt it into your operations.
Yeah, this is the thing. So within public safety, operators tend to have drones that fit two kind of categories. So they'll have a quick launch, sort of lower quality in terms of the imagery it puts out, but a quick launch system, and then a larger, longer to deploy, but more effective kind of pre-planned mission system. And what this does is it kind of ties those two together within public safety. So take an example of police as the first one. Traditionally, you'd have smaller systems like Mavics or Parrot Anafis just in cars, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. And then you'd have something larger sat in an office that's ready to be rolled out, for example, a football game or a demonstration, any sort of event, a prolonged event where you need a larger drone system. What this does is means you can effectively kill 2 birds with 1 stone in that area if budget is tight and you can't go for a larger, all-encompassing system. or you can upgrade the smaller systems you have, and they can start to take more and more jobs away from those larger systems because this is so much more capable. And that's when stuff like the IP rating, the higher wind resistance, and those kind of features really come into their own, because traditionally you'd have to use your larger, much more expensive systems for any missions in poor weather. And now you can use a system you can deploy in less than a minute. So every single one of those applications, that weather resistance is massively important, as is the much higher resolution imagery and thermal imagery you get as well. What I would mention there as well is there is a security edition of the drone. So if you are in police, specifically in police or military, get in touch with us directly, and we can give you some more details on the security edition of the model.
Thanks, Sam. Do you have anything to add there, Asif? Or?
No, I think it was a good summary from Sam, and it just reiterates that, that these three pillars that we built this around has been imagery, security, and ruggedness, and these sums it up nicely there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And there's just a quick question from a Martin, actually. And I see under the search and rescue application, it says no GPS required for takeoff. Martin's asking, what about operating in areas where GPS is not available?
Yeah, the drone will still fly. So I am aware that there's some drones that can't take off if there's no GPS. With our ones, you can still take off. And this one, absolutely, you'll be able to fly it without any GPS signal at all. Obviously, it's down to the pilot's skills then, more so than relying on the electronics to helping you out.
Yeah, they can only take you so far, can't they? Rick, we're going to come to price just at the end, so just hold fire and we will cover that later. Now, if we just move to the, because obviously we've covered a lot of the public safety here, but this drone is actually pretty awesome for inspection as well. So if we just go to the next use of applications, talk us through this, Sam.
Yeah, so just quickly, actually, on the last slide as well, I'd point out that there's one of the key features with this, which Asif kind of reminded me of there, is that there's less moving parts. There's less to go wrong with a system like this. So because it is so rugged and because the camera is built in, there's no messing around with gimbals and that kind of stuff. It's much more reliable for stuff like search and rescue, where the drone can get chucked in the back of a car for a week when it's got a bit of grass and a bit of mud on it, and then it's needed at a moment's notice. So that's really crucial on the public safety side as well. But yeah, so moving on to the inspection. You can see there sort of some of the main applications we've identified for the system. Similar to with public safety, it's the fact that traditionally you'd have to use much larger, much more expensive systems that are harder to transport, harder to set up, harder to get permission to use in certain areas as well. The fact that you've got, again, the resolution of thermal means it can be used for solar panel and power line inspection. And some of the really clever tools inside the thermal system as well allow you to do that. And then the fact that you've got the flight planning and the linking with Pix4D, obviously Parrot and Pix4D, Parrot owning Pix4D, means that there's a seamless transition between the two effectively. So some of the inspection applications, because those two are linked, become a lot easier than they would with any other drone systems.
I think as well, just touching on the software side of it and the ecosystem, if you were to get your crystal ball out and gaze what's going to be one of the key elements of the drone industry in like 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, it's going to be data. And it's not just about flying the drones, it's how you capture it, analyze it, store it, and report it. That's going to be the game changer, and that's what's really cool about Parrot and the software ecosystem that they have. They're always innovating and thinking ahead, and that's why this is such a game changer. And it's just so pleasing to see that these kind of innovations come into the industry, which is great.
Yeah, and the level of automation as well now, it means that you don't, because the two link, the Pix4D and Parrot drones link so well, you don't need to be an expert in CAD or anything similar to use this software now, because they're so easy to use and there's so much automation as part of it.
Absolutely. Before we move on, Asif, do you want to just wrap that section up before we get into what's in the box and the packages?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you've already said, it's the fact that you can combine a powerful 32 times zoom camera with a really powerful a boson lens from FLIR means that for inspection, it's ideal because you can be something that's very small, very easily deployable. Like I said, it's only 500 grams. You can get that up in the air. You can be quite far away from the object you want to do a survey on, and then use a zoom to go into there. So firstly, it's easier and safer for you potentially as well, but it's less obtrusive as well for the public that could be around you as well. So, and that's the fact that it's a very quiet drone and very capable in the winds, and obviously very secure as well. Added all these things together, you know, there's nothing like it on the market. And I can safely say there's nothing like this at all.
Do you know what? I think I believe you, Asif. It's absolutely, when you put all the features together and it's all working as one, it is truly game changing. But right, let's go. What's in the box? Here we go. So this is when I see this, and it's like you see the carry case, you see the drone. This really excites me as well. And just talk through it, Sam. Just talk through it.
Yeah, I think the ruggedized size of it is what's apparent here. So the case is a proper tough carry case that can be bashed around. The drone sits in very securely. And then in terms of accessories, you've got basically everything you need to operate. You add a phone or a tablet that's right for you, and then you get up and running. And the fact that it comes with 3 batteries, there's no additional cost for upgrading in terms of what it comes with the standard. That's just to be expected. Yeah, it's everything you'd need to be fully operational. The case is nice and small to be able to chuck in the back of a vehicle, and you can be nice and rough with it without worrying about any damage. And that's exactly what you need for the public safety market and some of the sort of construction and inspection markets. I know those guys can be pretty rough with their tools as well. And we should see it as We should see it as another tool, effectively.
Absolutely. Do you have anything to add there, Asif?
Yeah, I was going to say that one thing that's also relevant that actually needs to step back a slide was the fact that we don't enforce no-fly zones as Parrot as well. So that's great for inspections, and Sam is smiling there as well because he's realised we both forgot to mention that.
Yeah, no, that's critical. Yeah,
absolutely. Sam, I'll hand you over to that for that. Actually, do that.
Yeah, no, it's something it's easy to slip your mind because again, it's one of those kind of simple little features that can have a huge difference. It can save the time of unlocking no-fly zones and that kind of stuff, geofencing, but also just mean that you can operate in places where maybe someone with other equipment might not be able to operate.
Yeah, so as Parrot, what we do, the onus is on the pilot to ensure they're flying safely. So what we do, we don't enforce any geofencing or any no-fly zones. So the advantage of that is you can certainly do inspections in areas where you can't on with other brands very easily. So it's great for our customers, and especially obviously when public safety comes to play as well. It means they can fly wherever they need to.
Which is pretty important.
Absolutely.
As well, because they need to feasibly get everywhere, places where you wouldn't even expect them to go. So I'm very conscious that we are coming close to 3 o'clock. So what we'll do is we will move through to the packages that we have available, and we've got some limited UK exclusive launch packages. And what I'll do is I'll let Sam talk through these. Over to you, Sam.
Yep. So I'll run through these, no problem. So what you can see there is the two package options we've got for our initial UK launch. So Coptrz, as the Parrot distributor in the UK, have put these together. And what we've done is we've put together packages where not only are you getting the hardware, as you saw there, the what's in the box, but also necessary sort of training and support so that you're not stuck with an expensive paperweight that you're struggling to get the most out of. So what we've done with both of these is we've added in thermography training courses so that you can better understand the thermal data that you're gathering, utilize the drone a lot better, again, speed up the process of getting out and getting operating. On the emergency response package, you've got a license for 1 year for Pix4D React, which is the software that allows you to create models in sort of 10 to 15 minutes offline in real time while you're out on an operation, and then spit those out effectively as a PDF that you can email across to a team. So really useful in live search and rescue or sort of any incidents where you'll need to get that data. On the inspection package, you've got a trial of Ava, which is our software for inspection, our AI software for inspection, and you've got a subscription to that to use that to get up and running in terms of the inspection with the drone. And then you've got, for both the packages, a handover training session with one of our instructors, again, so you can hit the ground running with the drone and get up and running with no issues. A 24-month warranty, which is extended from the manufacturer warranty, which is 12 months. We boost that to 24 as part of these two packages, and a free drone service as part of the package as well. So effectively a drone MOT. We'll take the drone in, we'll check it, make sure there's no damage, any repairs or upgrades that need doing, and we can advise you on what you can do to make sure you're looking after it the best, and you're not going to have any further issues. So these packages are only for the first 10 orders. They'll get a complimentary PFCO course, which is obviously the qualification you need to operate. If you already have that, you can still get that and apply it to someone else in your business, for example. So if you've already got your PFCO, it doesn't have to be limited to just you. You can share that with a colleague. And also the Off-Call 5 training, which is the Chief Pilot's training course. You'll get access to that as well, which is the next step on from the Off-Call 4/PFCO training for Chief Pilots. So these are very limited initially. I'm sure we'll have questions in terms of availability. So we will have our first systems in towards the end of August, and it's looking like we're going to have 10 available systems from this point for the launch at the end of August, and then there will be a wait of approximately a month to 2 months for further systems. So if you are interested, get in touch as quickly as you possibly can, because I imagine those 10 are going to be pre-ordered pretty quickly. I would note as well, what we are doing is we are, and I think this might be on the next slide, we're doing Zoom consultations. So embracing the virtual meeting sort of situation we're in currently. And what I'm doing is giving sort of slots to people over the next 2 days where I can run through the specs in a bit more detail, give some advice in terms of it's the right solution for you, and we can tailor those packages to work exactly with what you want to do. If you're specifically after something that's maybe not in one of those two packages. So please do email me directly if that's something you're interested in. And I'll just flick back to the packages there so you can have a look at those again.
Great, thanks, Sam. Just on these packages, so I mean, there's an interesting story around how we put the emergency response package together. We had Randall Warren in our Coptrz offices at the start of the year. Randall Warren is from Fleur, and we did a special workshop with emergency services, and one of the key things that came out of that when Randall was talking to them was that they get the hardware, they get the software, but what was missing was just that onboarding and training to make sure that they maximize the potential of the hardware and software that they were using. And that's what's led to this package, because at the end of the day, our mission at Coptrz is to make sure that you enhance your operations, and we can only do that if you guys are using this to the best of your ability. So we'll be with you every step of the way to make sure that happens. And as you can see, with the extended warranty and the 12-month drone service, we're going to be there. This is an investment which we want to pay off for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen a few questions there. Just sorry, Kev, just on sort of availability in other countries. Obviously, we're the UK distributor, so this is all geared towards the UK market. If you are interested in terms of other countries, let us know, and we'll get Asif to direct you to a distributor in whichever country you're in. So we can help with that, no problem.
Yeah, I think my email address is at the end of the slide as well. So feel free to contact me with any country questions.
Oh, I don't know, Asif. I don't know if you should open that up. But what we'll do is, right, guys, we have come to the end of the hour for the webinar. Asif, are you okay to hang around for some questions, Q&A? Do you have time?
I actually have, yeah, I can rearrange another call. I actually have something else booked at 3 o'clock, but if we overrun by a few minutes, it'll be okay.
Right, so that'd be awesome. So let's do 5 minutes, and then Sam, when Asif goes, if you can hang around and we can get through some of these questions as well. But let's do it, and
no
if
problem.
people want to hang around, we'll go through that. So, question-wise, I'm going to find all the ones for Asif.
Okay, I'm just quickly going to postpone my meeting, so I'll give it as long as you need me for 1 second.
That is amazing. Guys on the webinar, not only is he giving you his email address, he's bumping another meeting for you, which is absolutely amazing. For Q&A.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Asif. Right, let's do it. Thank you. So let's hope we got some great questions for Asif. Here we go. So there's a lot of questions. Okay, so first question, here we go, from Michael Rice. Can you run with dual operators, one for the drone and the other for the cameras? How does it work? I'll put that to you first, Asif.
Yeah, so it's one controller. So the simple answer is that the whole ecosystem around this becomes very easy to fly for one controller. So it's a system that doesn't necessarily need two people to fly. I know some of the bigger systems, the more cumbersome systems, need someone to operate the camera and then somebody else to operate the drone. With ours, it's just one person.
Great, thanks, Asif.
I can't hear you.
So here's a question. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Sorry, you faded out.
Yeah, you're back in now. I think you're okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah,
It's because I'm scrolling through all these questions. There's so many. And quick question from Gerald: is the thermal radiometric?
No, the flare boson isn't a radiometric camera.
I think no more need to be said there. Mike Royal: how does it compare in size to the Anafi thermal?
So the Anafi thermal is 315 grams. This is 500 grams. So it's a little bit bigger, but not massively bigger in overall dimensions.
Great. And quick question from Philip Dagnan: are there any collision sensors on the drone?
No, as Parrot, we don't believe there are any collision sensors which are powerful enough or good enough yet. And what we do, again, we always put the onus on the pilots. So we ensure that the pilot has to be ensuring they're flying in the right areas. They're not in any no-fly zones, for example, and they have the right skills to fly where they're flying as well. Obviously, within PIFCO regulations, whatever regulations they need to adhere to.
Great, thank you. Let's go through. What else have we got? So many questions. So just running through. Let's find a good one.
They're all good.
What's the and here's a very specific question from Carol. What's the largest size of the micro SD card that it can take?
I need to check. That's a good question. I don't actually know the answer, so let me check and come back to you.
Oh, I think Kev might have just dropped off as he's tried to. There's so many questions that he's loading up that he's managed to crack it. I'll tell you what, Asif, we'll keep working through them,
Sure.
And we'll see if Kev manages to jump back on. So I think he was working up from the bottom. So if we go through some, so the radiometric questions I believe have been answered. There's a few questions around the IP rating. Does the IP rating of 53 not mean you should expect water ingress after 3 minutes?
It's 60 degrees at 5 minutes, from what I understand.
Yes, yeah, correct. And from what I've seen, I think it looks like it's been tested beyond that in the real world.
Yeah.
And someone asking there, was the continuous flight of the DJI M200 in rain the reason they were falling out of the sky? It's a contentious question, I suppose. There are a few reasons for some of the issues. The M200 had, you can't say that the IP rating was the reason that it failed. That's, you know, an IP rating is completely independently assessed. So the drone has to meet certain criteria to get that. The manufacturer can't just say it is this IP rating. So rest assured, the Anafi USA has been tested to those specifications. And I imagine from what I've seen, a hell of a lot further than those specifications as well.
And remember, this product, or a version of this product, the one we're making for the Short Range Reconnaissance Project for the American government, has already been out there in the field and being tested in these conditions as well, so in the real world. Yeah,
exactly. So another one is the FLIR radiometric, which we've addressed, but also, can you change the isotherms and the color palette on the thermal camera?
Yes, you can, as you could always been able to with us. Yeah.
Yeah, someone asking, there's a few questions really around, will there be further versions? I think that's the best way to sum them up. So someone asking, will there be a version with the sort of 640 by 512 resolution thermal? Someone asking, will there be a version with a photography camera, those kind of things?
No, this is the product that we have, and it's you know, it's been about 18 months of development for us. And we believe this is a great all-round package.
Okay, we'll just pick out a few more because there's so many to go through. As Kev said, any that we don't get through in this, myself and the sales team at Coptrz will work through them and get an answer back to everyone that's had a question. And obviously, you've got our email addresses as well. Is the 32 times zoom optical or digital?
It's a digital zoom. But as you may recall, on our test last week with a police force, they zoomed in 32 times, and they were very impressed about how it compared to a optical zoom they have with another drone manufacturer. So it's you know, very, very capable.
Yeah, and I'd have to back that up from what I've seen. Definitely agree with that one. A few questions on sort of Pix4D and mapping. So someone asking, does it interface with Pix4D Mapper? Yeah, I mean, I focused on Pix4D React a bit there in the presentation on the public safety side, but React is just one version, Mapper is another. It interfaces and works very well with every aspect of Pix4D. So Mapper, yeah, absolutely, no issues there.
I think somebody also asked about photo formats as well, and it's a JPEG and digital negative RAW as well. So somebody asked about that, I recall.
Yeah, and there's been a few questions as well on sort of the real world expectations. So we've had one on sort of what is the real world flight time. I can address that from what I've seen in terms of our demo. I mean, we flew the unit for just over 25 minutes, landed it with a good chunk of battery time left. So no issues there. Obviously 32 minutes is as with anything, it's sort of in ideal conditions. But we would have got, if we wanted to push it to needing to land, we would have got 30 minutes in total. So it seems to be measuring up to that really well. And then there was another one on the wind resistance side as well. Can it really do 15 meters a second?
Yeah.
What I would say is, again, that testing is normally just kind of a safety net. So I'm sure it can probably go quite a bit further than that. But Parrot will give that, I imagine, as their rating, because they don't want to go, you know, they don't want to get people to push it too far and then say to Parrot, well, we've had an issue because we've flown in 20 meters a second wind. You know, I imagine you can push it a bit further than that unofficially.
Yeah, I would never talk about what you can do unofficially, but certainly it's been tested in our test environments with the wind at 15 meters a second. And in particular, that flight you mentioned we did last week, that was particularly windy that day as well. So we got 30 minutes in a particularly windy environment.
Yeah, exactly. So Kev's just joined over my shoulder, so he can see if there's any more questions. I think we've picked out a good few questions there. I know, Asif, you're already eating into your next meeting time. So I think what we'll do is we'll call it a day in terms of questions. As we've said a few times, please do, if you've not answered a question, we'll get back to you as they're all recorded. If there's anything sort of urgent or you've got a real interest in terms of purchasing or getting more information in terms of one of those meetings, drop myself there, sam.denniff@coptrz.com, an email. anything where you, as we said, you're looking at it from somewhere outside the UK, feel free to drop Asif an email, and between us, we'll be able to get you sorted. So I think that's everything. Asif, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been
No
a
problem.
really good webinar, and thanks to Kev who's just popped in there as well. And yeah, I'm sure we'll hear from a few of you in the future. And thanks very much for joining us today for this webinar. Thanks, guys.
Thanks all. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.